So we're just 3 days into May, and it seems like we can't make it through an entire month without some reporter or journalist claiming that Nintendo is absolutely planning a Switch revision, and we do have reports again to cover today that suggest that we will see this revision in the works. But the more exciting piece of the puzzle to me, and what I want to dive into, is what will Nintendo actually have to do this year at E3 and different directs and showcases to truly deliver on what they are claiming to be their best financial year ever. What's up, Nation? If it's your first time on the channel, make sure you join Sunbro Nation by subscribing below, hit the like button on this video if you enjoy it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. Now, as I mentioned, guys, we have to briefly talk about the Switch Pro news that is now circulating everywhere online because according to Neki, who is a very big Japanese publication that covers different reports around production and financial results and things, they are claiming that Nintendo is actually ramping up production of the Switch hardware to a total of 30 million units. And while that is big news in and of itself because that would be their biggest production year ever, they are also specifically claiming that they are planning a higher end revision, and that's significant in the fact that they are actually saying it will be higher end in terms of performance capabilities and not necessarily just saying it'll be something like better battery life. So it does appear that all of these different leaks and rumors that we've been continuing to see from big companies such as Bloomberg and other gaming analysts that are predicting it, it does appear that this thing is real and it is happening. It will most likely have those OLED screens from Samsung that will be 7 inches that will go into production in June according to Bloomberg. So now the big question becomes is what is Nintendo going to plan for this year to actually deliver their best year ever, which would be 30 million plus units? Well, they have to do a lot of different stuff in my opinion because last year was obviously their best year to date because of the raised demand for stay-at-home entertainment due to the pandemic, and so we saw the Switch hard to obtain almost throughout the entire year of 2020, and it's even hard to find in stores to this point in 2021. So it does make sense that they'd be ramping up production if they're currently selling out, but 30 million units in one fiscal year is talking like a whole nother level, and they are obviously planning big things if they are going to put those kind of numbers out there to their investors and actually make that number of consoles. And the first thing that would make sense, of course, is if you are planning on a section of your base upgrading to a new revision, which I think is absolutely part of this plan. Now, if you guys don't know, the financial year or fiscal year for Nintendo ends in March 31st of 2022. So that does technically mean we could see any of these type of huge announcements line up between now and then, and I am still predicting that we get the Switch Pro at the end of this year. If we don't, it's absolutely a first quarter of next year type of release. So we pretty much know that that's in the works and that will be coming out, and it's gonna come out alongside a huge blockbuster title like a Breath of the Wild 2. But then besides that, we have to try to slow down and look at what Nintendo might do to drive these kind of numbers through the rest of this year and the holiday season, because to be quite honest, while we have had good games like new Pokemon Snap and some good system sellers come out in the beginning of 2021, it hasn't been anything massive. We have yet to have that huge game that really moves consoles. We know that the back half of 2021 is already going to be somewhat stacked even before the E3 announcements, with games like the Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl coming out, and those are obviously going to move units as well, especially considering that they will be launching in the holiday window. But then that does mean that there's a lot of unannounced projects that I'm sure we are going to see Nintendo primarily reveal to us at E3. There may even be some kind of Zelda focused direct in May, according to a credible now leaker named Samus Hunter, and this is kind of one of those things to take with a pinch of salt. It could be very small Zelda news, it might just be like a Twitter drop, but she is actually predicting there to be some kind of Zelda event, and she has been right on a lot of other stuff, and she's saying that will happen in May, so we do need to keep our eyes open for that. that, but I think the real one that you have to watch for and really have, I think, expectations set to maximum for is E3. I know a lot of people don't like to get overhyped, but Nintendo is kind of doing it themselves at this point if they're actually claiming to have their biggest year ever, and I think that they're going to deliver. So what kind of games might we see them unveil at E3? Well, we already know we're getting Skyward Sword in July. We get the Pokemon games at the end of 2021. I think it makes sense that they do Zelda's 35th anniversary right, and we do get the Wind Waker and Twilight Princess ported over first and foremost. We may get a 2D Zelda announcement, and then they focus on franchises that we really want to see again, one of which that I personally cannot wait for to have a sequel or an announcement of any kind of game is Metroid, and I think we at least get either Prime Trilogy or a 2D Metroid unveiled at this event. We have a lot of rumors around Donkey Kong popping up recently that Nintendo is actually working with the Mario Odyssey team to release a new Donkey Kong game, and it would be kind of like the revival of the series or try to get him into the mainstream again, because obviously Tropical Freeze did sell very well, but it was still a Wii U port, and we have yet to see him get a full-fledged release on the Switch, so we could see something big in that regard. It has been a while since we've seen any Kirby games announced. We have the looming Mario Kart 9 potential out there, which imagine if they could stack up the back half of this year with Zelda ports and Mario Kart 9, and then maybe even the Breath of the Wild 2 announcement that it will come out in 2021, because I think barring any delays, Nintendo really wants to have that thing ready to go for the holiday season, especially if they're launching new Switch hardware. And it would kind of be ironic because the original Switch did launch alongside Zelda Breath of the Wild, and it's obviously a system seller, so why not release the Switch Pro with the 4K ability whenever it's docked and a 4K version of Breath of the Wild 2. I mean, just saying that out loud sounds ridiculous, but it's totally possible since Nintendo is obviously planning this revision, and if they can get it ready to go for holiday season, they're going to want to get it ready to go for holiday season. And even besides their first-party titles, we have a bunch of other third-party ones to expect, as there's been recent leaks from Bandai Namco that they will be porting over games such as Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, and even Dark Souls 2 is heavily rumored, which is long overdue on the platform. We also haven't heard anything about Bayonetta 3, so whenever you put together all of those pieces for what they could potentially unveil at E3, and they absolutely hit it out of the park, and fans are ecstatic, and then, by the way, I don't personally predict them to reveal the new Switch revision at E3, but I do think it is possible, and if they did something like that, imagine when pre-orders go live, what will go down. It's going to be one of those things, though, that I don't think they're quite ready to unveil in the middle of the year. The more likely scenario is we get through E3, and we know Nintendo is completely stacked with games, both third-party and first-party, and then once we're through that official kind of unveilment of all those projects, later on in the fall, we get some kind of big news around what the Switch Pro will have to offer, and it ships as late, as soon or as late as to mid to late October would be what I'd personally predict around that. Maybe it even goes into the beginning part of November, but I think this is a holiday project, especially, guys, you gotta think the biggest shopping season of the year is absolutely the holiday time window from Thanksgiving through Christmas and even into New Year's. So I think if Nintendo wants to deliver their biggest year ever in delivering 30 million consoles, and obviously they could be doing some of that for Q1 of 2022 because you have Pokemon Legends Arceus for sure coming out in that window, that could help, but that's actually going to be closing out their numbers, and I think to hit something like 30 million, they have to dominate the actual holiday season when it comes to Switch sales. So it only makes sense to do that with new hardware and new blockbusters to go along with it. So while most of the time I would say level your expectations for, maybe not all of the big announcements that we're hoping to see come true at E3, I think this year's presentation is poised to be really their best E3 since probably 2019 or even 2017 before that. Some really notable announcements to come out of this one. So again, guys, I would set my hype levels to maximum. I would get ready to go for June, and hopefully we get a little bit of information around something Zelda related in May like Samus Hunter is predicting. But guys, at this point in the video, I want to know your all's thoughts on what you think we will see from Nintendo, and if you now believe at this point, if you didn't before, that the Switch Pro is absolutely coming, because it's kind of hard to deny at this point. So please share with me your thoughts on what games you think we will see Nintendo deliver to hit this all-time high sales target that they're setting, and if you think the Switch Pro is real, and when you think it is personally coming out in your opinion. So please make sure you comment down below before you leave the video, and also hop over to the community poll in the channel today and vote on what you think Nintendo will do around this biggest sales year, as I will be asking you guys different questions regarding that. So make sure you vote in today's community poll and leave me a comment with your thoughts down below. Thanks so much for watching the video today, everyone. I do truly appreciate you all sticking around until the end. I do at this point in the video want to invite you all one more time to join Sunbro Nation if you haven't done so already. Do so by subscribing below. Hit the like button on your way out on this video if you enjoyed it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. That's going to do it for me, guys. I hope you all have a great day. Sunbro Nation, out.